So I think that that's what makes Derrick so much more dangerous, is that no matter what time in the fight, he can end you, he can shut your lights off. So that's just something that I see. I'm going to have to be on my toes against him. So it'll be fun.
What's up, MMA fans? Joining me today is the number 7th ranked heavyweight in the UFC. It's Chris Daukaus, who needs no nickname, but Jon Anik was kind of hinting at one with the dark horse because you've had such an ascension in the UFC ranking. So what do you credit this quick ascension in the rankings to?
And I don't think that, a lot of people can keep up with, the amount of fights that I'm looking to have per year. So, as long as I keep fighting, I have that comfortability in the cage. I think that's what just makes the major difference, as opposed to making, like 6 months off here, 5 months off here. I just want to fight as often as possible.
And so in terms of staying active, we had COVID for so long, and then now we're finally bouncing back from that. So what were you able to do in the COVID times when things were shut down?
Nothing really. There was, the gym was shut down, everything was shut down. So I kind of just, limited my training to my brother. We would, come over each other's houses, hang out in like the basement, like hit pads, grapple when we could. That was really pretty much it. And then just lifting as we could. I was scheduled for a fight, 2 fights actually. No, yeah, the one fight when COVID first happened. So that got canceled. And then I got another fight right before I got my UFC call. I was going to fight for a regional show, and it was pretty much just me and him. And I think we had one other guy with us, and that was it, training leading up to that. And then I got the call. So it all worked out.
And when you think back to the beginning of COVID, I feel like this was kind of the beginning of where you saw like a lot of the riots happening and a lot of
Yeah.
hostility between cops, Black Lives Matter, different things. So how was it handling that and working as a cop?
That was super stressful, just because, with everything with the riots and city, the Philadelphia got hit pretty hard, especially with like the protests and the riots. So, we were down there. I was down there in Center City, right around City Hall. We were doing like 12 to 16-hour days, depending on, when the riots were scheduled, or not the protests were scheduled, and then the riots have happened after that. So it was really crazy to see, like all like the buildings on fire, just people kind of like looting and doing whatever they wanted. So it's something that I'll truly never forget.
And would you say, as a cop and seeing some of the things you've seen, that it's pretty necessary for cops to be at least a blue belt? Or do you think it should be a higher rank? Or do you think just regular self-defense
Uh,
classes would be enough?
I don't think regular self. It depends on the self defense, because you have anyone teaching any kind of crazy things that can call it self defense. I do think that police officers should be taught jujitsu. I would feel comfortable with working with someone who was a blue belt. Maybe like a, not just a beginner blue belt, maybe like a higher level blue belt. Not even like skill wise on the match, just the putting the time in, and I'm fine with that. With the like high level blue belt, definitely purple belt and above. So yeah.
Yeah, for high rollers, we did an event with the cops. It was stoners versus
Yeah,
cops.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the Adopt the Cop,
yeah,
BJJ funds that. So they were
yeah,
really strong on that side, and all of the cops, they showed out for some of them. And I think just
yeah,
that having that defense is super cool. Have you ever been
yeah.
able to stop by the high rollers headquarters? Because I know you fought 3 times now in Vegas.
I have not. So when we go to Vegas, we're kind of like stuck under quarantine. We're not allowed to leave the property, so that it kind of sucks. When my brother fought Kevin Holland, they were talking about kind of relaxing, like what we like could and couldn't do. So I was hoping that we could get out, but now once you're in that hotel, you're kind of stuck in that hotel.
Yeah, so you've done 3 fights in Vegas and then one in Abu Dhabi. Which
Yeah,
which would you say you would prefer? Like, I know the Abu Dhabi was probably a great experience, but was it just
yeah.
kind of too much, kind of taking you off your schedule?
Yeah, yeah, that's what people don't realize, is that the time that I fought, it was, I believe it was like 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern time. But when it was in Abu Dhabi, I was fighting at, I think it was 3:30 or 4 a.m. So it was kind of crazy. Just getting my body acclimated to training at that time. Sleeping during the day. staying up all night, and then still having to do different media obligations and different obligations that I had with the UFC. So my schedule was really messed up, but that was a good experience. But it sucked a little bit.
So how has it been with the quick ascension in the rankings? I'm so thankful that you got back to me and were willing to do an interview. So
Of
you
course,
seem pretty open to doing interviews. Do you like this
of course.
side of the fighting world?
Yeah, someone was just calling me. I'm sorry about that. So so the media was getting kind of overwhelming in the beginning, just because everyone's kind of like, you got 30 people looking at you, you got all the cameras. I was never used to that. But as I'm, climbing the rankings and doing more and more, I'm starting to enjoy it a little bit. So it's good.
So growing up, were you an athlete or were you always doing wrestling stuff? How did you get
Nope.
so involved with jujitsu?
No, so I was an athlete growing up. I did all kinds of sports: soccer, baseball, basketball, whatever. I played lacrosse in high school, and then I was commuting to college. Just driving past an MMA gym. One day, I decided to go in and do jiu-jitsu, and I've been doing jiu-jitsu ever since.
So how old were you?
It was like 19, 20 was when I first started. So yeah, I was a late bloomer, as some people would say, but yeah, definitely don't regret it.
So were you one of those jujitsu people who, like, once you started, you just accelerated really quickly and you were constantly going? Because you're already a black belt, and I feel like it takes like at least 10 years to get your black belt.
Yeah. So So I took I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't like really working out. I wasn't playing any more sports. So it was kind of like, this is my new thing, and I'm just going to go as quickly and as often as I can. And that's pretty much what I did. So.
And then did your brother follow you from there, or was he kind of already involved?
No. So I went to the gym first. I was there probably, I want to say like 2 months or 3 months before he did. I stuck with jiu-jitsu first. He jumped straight into MMA. And then he decided to jump ship and come over and start doing some more BJJ. And then I jumped into MMA. So we kind of flip-flop. But yeah, that's just been it for, the past 10 years. So yeah.
So was your intention originally that you wanted to do just BJJ grappling tournaments, or was it just you like the flow of BJJ, this is what you're going to stick with, and then oversight for MMA stuff?
No, yeah. I wasn't doing anything. So I just wanted to like get active and just, I always liked watching the UFC. So I was like, all right, I'll do an aspect of that. And then once I started training more and more, seeing the MMA guys, then they kind of got me into that. And then it was just a natural progression to go from jiu-jitsu to MMA for me. And then once I started MMA, I was, hanging around with all the MMA guys who had fights. I was helping them get ready for fights. I said, what's the harm in one MMA fight? So I said, all right, I'll take one MMA amateur fight. And I was hooked after that. So yeah, it was good.
And then you ended up transitioning into CFFC. So after your amateur fights, you just set a goal for yourself that you want to fight a certain number of times a year and then hopefully get into a bigger promotion? Or because I know, how old were you when you started doing, started as a cop?
So it was right around the same time. So when I started jiu-jitsu and all that good stuff, I took my first amateur fight a week before I went to the police academy. So I was training, probably 2009. I'll say I started in 2009, 2008. My first amateur fight was in 2011. And then July of 2011 is when I went into the police academy. And then I graduated in March of 2012. So during that time, I couldn't really like fight. So as soon as I got out, I was just trying to book fights, just as many fights as I could get. I was just trying to do that. Once I got that, it was kind of like I need more people to fight. So I had to go pro. So I only had 4 amateur fights. In, the Northeast region of the United States, there's very few amateur heavyweights. So it was kind of like hey, this is what you need to do. And that's what I did. And I've been pro ever since.
So what was it like having a dad as a sheriff and him wanting you to go another route? Like, were you just saying, sorry, dad, like, this is the way I'm going, and he was completely okay with it? Or was it kind of like some disagreements every now and then?
No, there's total disagreements all the time. About what I should do with my life and my career. But yeah, he thought that I was going to get hurt. I was going to ruin my job and, ruin my career, but it's something that I wanted to do. And I stuck with it. And I'm really thankful that I did. I'm really thankful that I was at least stubborn on that part of my life. So, yeah.
And I guess after 3 performance bonuses later and now a main event against Derrick Lewis, he's pretty proud of you.
I would say so. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. And is all of your family in the Northeast?
Yeah. So I have a bunch of family up here in the Northeast, and then I have some like aunts and uncles who are down south in like South Carolina, and then I have some other family members who were in California, but I think they moved to, I want to say, Colorado. So yeah, that's pretty
Okay.
much it. Yeah.
Interesting. So when the fight happens in Las Vegas, you're going to be having a lot of family support. This is going to be maybe the biggest test that you've had. I mean, it's Derrick
Yeah.
Lewis. He's a big name. So what are
Yeah.
you expecting with the energy in the audience there?
I'm just, I expect it to be awesome. I'm hoping to have a few family members out there, so that'll be really good. But I have to stay focused on the actual fight. I can't get too wound up with the emotions. I'm an emotional guy, so like if I start to get wound up and ready to go, I don't want to have an adrenaline dump and then get my ass kicked by Derrick Lewis. So
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you actually view him as a little bit more of a dangerous fighter than Francis Ngannou. Can you explain
yeah,
your thinking on that?
yeah. So my thought process is I think Francis is like a berserker or like a marauder. Like he just comes forward. Um, and he's got that obviously that crazy knockout power. In his previous fights, he did say, he's shown that once you get past that first 3 minutes, 4 minutes with him, he's kind of okay to deal with, and he's kind of just a normal heavyweight. If any normal heavyweight you just get touched, you can get finished. Um, but going past those 3 4 minutes, he's super dangerous in his first three. But I think Derrick Lewis is um, more dangerous than him. He seems to carry his power throughout the whole fight. Francis really doesn't show that. So I think that that's what makes Derrick so much more dangerous is that no matter what time in the fight, he can end you, he can shut your lights off. So that's just something that I see. And I think that, maybe Derrick Lewis is a little bit more athletic. He does throw like the jumping switch kicks and the flying knees and all that stuff. So I'm going to have to be on my toes against him. So it'll be fun.
So do you see it as all at all as kind of being like a final four, since there's the interim championship belt and then the championship belt on the line, and then you are fighting at the end of December? Do you kind of see this as the winners will see each other for the real championship belt?
I hope, but there's also like some other names. Like the only other person I know who's kind of like waiting in the wings is Stipe. Obviously, we haven't seen Stipe in a while.
Mhm.
Um, I've been hearing different things about Stipe, whether he gets the next title shot or like if he's waiting for a title shot. I don't know if he's gonna take like a number one contender. So I don't know if like the plan is like I beat Derek, then I fight Stipe, or if when Francis and Gon fight in January, does Stipe get the belt and if a shot at the belt, and then if that happens, I have to think about what am I going to do as far as do I wait for a title shot if that's offered to me, or do I take another fight and just stay busy and just try and do that?
Theoretically speaking, if it does end up being you and Stipe, police officer versus firefighter, what
Yeah.
about his style do you think is a threat?
I think that his style is just like mine. And the fact that he's got a lot more cardio than everyone else in the heavyweight division. But he did say that he was going to put on 20 some pounds, or try to at least put on 20 some pounds to deal with Francis and the bigger guys. So I don't know how he's doing that. If he's even doing that. And we haven't really seen Stipe at that weight. He's always really fought on the lower end of the division. So it'll be interesting to see. But minus the 20 pounds, he's super dangerous. He's really good boxing. He's good wrestling. He can take a shot. So I think if and when I get past Derrick Lewis, if I fight Stipe next, that'll be the obviously the toughest challenge to date.
And what would you say your sweet spot weight is?
Definitely like 230, 235 for me. I feel really good there. I feel super fast. anything lower, like when I fought in Abu Dhabi, I weighed in at 227. And I think that that was just my body kind of started shutting down from, the time difference and me not eating. Like there was, like, I don't know if I said this in any other news, but there was times like when I would get done training and it'd be like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and I have all my food in front of me and I'm eating my food and I get halfway through and my body's just like, we're not eating any more food. And I like start gagging on my food. So I didn't know if like my body was just shutting down or what, but if I just felt going into that fight, I felt super fast, but I was nervous and concerned about my power transfer. And that was the biggest thing. And just my strength, just because that whole week, I really felt like depleted and weak.
So we also haven't talked about Jon Jones because he's been in trouble with everything.
Yeah.
So how do
Yeah.
you think that is gonna play a part? Do you think that we'll be seeing him in 2022? And if so, like, do you predict that he's gonna be the one with the belt?
I don't know. So I don't know what he has as far as like what's going on legally with Jon, if he's going to be out or not. Obviously, the UFC is planning on using Jon. They haven't cut Jon. They just cut, I think, Luis Pena. I think they just cut him for a similar situation. So obviously, they still have some faith in Jon. Jon is obviously always going to be a part of the talks when it comes to the belt, just because that's what he said, and he has a right to do that as far as being a lot of people's goat in MMA. But I don't know, because it's been so long, and he's up to like 265. He says he wants to get to 270. So I'm not planning on Jon fighting anytime soon. I'll fight Jon, but I mean, if they offer me, I'll fight him. But I just don't see him fighting anytime soon. And I don't think he would take a fight outside of the belt. So whoever has the belt at the end of the day, I think that's kind of like the matchup to make. They can do the Francis, but unless it's for a belt, I don't see Jon taking that risk.
And as a cop, you've probably seen or been called for domestic assault charges. So what, from your stance, how do you think it is best handled when you're there on the scene and then afterwards to make sure things like that never happen again?
See, that's the thing. Like, it's not about us handling the situation. It's about the individuals involved in the situation. So if let's say me and you are a couple, right? The cops come, they tell us everything legally that we have to do. But if I'm still all about you and you're still all about me, we're not going to leave each other. So unless things change between us, then that's not going to change. If you have a mindset of, oh, I'm only doing this to you because I love you, and that's the way that a lot of domestic violence victims think, that like it's not as bad as people are making it out to be. It was only this one time. So it's kind of like a thing that you have to get through to the victims of domestic violence. And that goes both ways, like male and female, and, opposite. So it's really tough. And there usually comes a point in time with the victim, whether it's a male victim or a female victim, that they've had enough, and that's the time that they need to get out. And obviously it's not at that time yet. So I really hope everything gets figured out for both parties.
Yeah, I just think of Brian Laundrie's body being found recently, and then the Gabby Batuto case, and you just hope things never escalate to that. But like literally seeing the camera of the cop and them de-escalating the situation, and like they have to let them go home, but there's nothing they can really do after that.
Yeah, and that's what sucks about this situation. Like as a police officer, in certain situations, if you observe certain things, you can take action towards those things. But if you don't observe other things and what you're telling me doesn't add up, then I can't. My hands are tied legally, and I can't do anything except write a report saying that I was here and this is what happened. And a lot of times that's where the domestic violence ends, and that's where people get hurt. That's where people get really hurt, because if it's the first time the cops are coming and all of a sudden we leave and then it's just you guys alone, there's someone's temper could flare up, and then who knows what's going to happen.
So your legal background and knowledge is like obviously very full. When you went to
Yeah.
college, you said before
Yep.
MMA, was it for police work?
Nope. No, I wanted to be an English teacher, and then I wanted to be an art teacher. So yeah, it's kind of weird how life works out.
Nice. I remember you said that public speaking is like one of the things that makes you nervous, but you're very good at like
Yeah.
explaining things. So
Well, thank
nice.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
So
appreciate that.
are you still on the stay-at-home dad life? I know your son's taking a nap now, but are you doing any
Yeah.
work with the police officers?
No. I'm actually going through I'm just waiting for my paperwork to get cleared. I'll be taking a leave of absence, and then yeah, I'm full blown stay at home dad, full time MMA fighter. So it's a little weird to, you know, I clean the house a lot, so I'm trying to just stay busy. So